Hi, my name is Torres, and I'm the Public Programs Coordinator at Contemporary Arts Museum Houston, and welcome to another CAM Connects. I'm so excited that today, this CAM Connects, we're connecting with Jaison Oliver, who I've met recently through his Wikipediathons here in Houston, Texas. And Jaison is an educator, an organizer, engineer, blogger, and he's essentially imagining a better world and creating a better world for us. So welcome, Jaison. Welcome to this CAM Connects.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So essentially, one of the things that I know that I really wanted you to tell us about and tell our community about are your Wikipediathons. And what I find so intriguing about it is your motivation for gathering people together to write honest histories that actually will close the gaps through the multicultural gaps and gender gaps that occur in Wikipedia that happen to be in Wikipedia. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and I love that you said honest histories, right? Because history is relative, right? And who tells it completely changes the story. And so that, I think, is the core of why it's so important for these Wikipedia Editathons to happen. It's because, one, like Wikipedia is something that we all use, right? Like we all know about it. And so there's usually when you're trying to do any kind of social impact or social justice project, you have to get people bought in. But everybody knows Wikipedia and they know how important it is because it's the first thing that pops up when you search for anything if the Wikipedia page exists. So like nobody has to be convinced that it's important. And I also like doing these events because I feel like we should all be involved in the telling and recording of our histories. And it is me directly inviting people to push back collectively against the erasure that happens as these histories are told and like as our stories are told. So Wikipedia Editathons are really nice because they're convenient and accessible. And that's something that I've been trying to think more about is how, especially in this time of, quarantine and everybody stuck at home, how can we do things that are both impactful, but also like fun? And it's fun to like learn about what's going on in Houston and learn about some of the different creatives like you who are doing really cool and interesting work. And these editathons are something that are straightforward to do both in person and then also online, which I really like. For me, I'm from Detroit, but I moved to Houston about 10 years ago. And what I found when I came here was it's just really hard to find what's going on in the city. It's so big. I still don't know what's going on the north side. I have just the like tiniest inkling of what's happening in the East End. NRG is a whole different world. I know like one restaurant, but otherwise, like I never go out there. So it's really hard to find out what's going on. And I think that's also kind of reflected in the documentation of like our cultural scene, because in a city like this with such a rich multicultural creative community and like with all these different creative communities, it's hard to find out what's going on to the point where people think that we don't really have a whole lot that's going on. So every time I tell people, yeah, that we're in the 4th largest city, people are like, oh wait, what? Like Houston's the 4th largest city? That doesn't make sense.
And so thinking about that in terms of like how big the city is, one of the things I really enjoyed about your Wikipediathon, especially the last series that happened since the pandemic began, was how you did make it accessible by not only having artists present at the beginning of the Wikipediathon, but you had multiple sessions inviting people to connect with each other, getting to meet new people, having artists present ahead of time. And then you also had playlists made. And so can you talk to me a little bit about how you brought all of these artists of different genres together from across Houston, into one place several times?
Yeah, I am definitely not an artist, but somebody that really kind of cares about and feels like that's important. And so I know a lot of the people that participated in the series, and then I also asked friends, like, hey, who do you think should participate in this, right? And it was just easy. Everybody was saying, oh, you're putting together a series to just increase awareness around women of color artists in the city. I'm in, right? Like, what can I do? Everybody was really excited and on board. So that from the artists who participated to the 4 different DJs who made mixes, because if you're working on some kind of project like editing Wikipedia at home in the quiet by yourself, it's nice to just have some good music playing in the background. So everybody was really excited, and that was one of the really nice things about the project.
So do you have more Wikipediathons scheduled in the future?
Yes. So I was planning to do things in the like nebulous future, but because we were having this conversation, I decided I'm going to do one on Thursday, August 20th, and then another on Sunday, August 30th. So one will be a kind of evening thing as people are winding down after work, and then another will be a Sunday afternoon activity for people to come. Completely introductory, no prep needed. People can just come in to get a quick training on Wikipedia, and then it's all hands-on. So it's really designed to get people some real experience.
Are you planning to have any particular focus for these Wikipediathons? I know that, as you had mentioned, the last series in Houston was specifically working towards adding more artists and women of color. Are you still staying close to that theme, or are you, what are your goals as you continue?
Yeah, I think I'm going to continue within that theme because we collected so many resources to make sure that people had source material to work from as they're building up these Wikipedia profiles. So like we have not come close to exhausting any of that yet. And it's just, yeah, like it makes it a lot easier for me. I could say, hey, we'll just continue from what we're building on. And I'm a big fan of saving myself work.
That's awesome. Cool. So is there anything else that you're working on right now that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I guess for me, this is all part of work that I'm interested in around building community and also like building imagination and building like our ability to collectively imagine together. And so 2 projects that I'm working on are one is the Houston Afrofuturism Book Club, which has been going on for, I think, 4 years now. And we meet monthly where people come together just to read speculative fiction focused on the lives and experiences or insights of Black people. So that is something that people can always join. Next month, we'll be watching a French film called Kirikou and the Sorceress. It's a great French film, and we'll be having a watch party and a discussion. So that's a fun way for people to get involved. And then also, we just kicked off, we being the BLMHTX ImagiNoir Collective, which is an organizing group of artists, activists, academics, and others who come together to fight for racial equity in the city of Houston. But so BLMHTX and then also Data Jams came together to do a series around using data to imagine new worlds. So the series is called Data to Dream. And so we just had our first session on Saturday, July 25th, and we'll be doing it every week on Saturdays, where we're helping people to become more familiar with data and then forming up groups to imagine how can we use this to think about the change that we need in the city, especially in this time of like severe social crisis.
Awesome, thank you. I'm so excited to continue to follow your work.
Thank you, thank you.